Fate decided.
Let's get this party started.
Craving something scary.
Hello, Sydney.
Killjoy Jake.
Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
Night Watch Zone.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Get up!
The collective has spoken.
Yeah, man. Welcome,
Weird.
guys. It is a Lethal Collective Friday, Fate,
It is.
and we are running at 50% capacity for the Lethal Collective on this Friday. But you know what? It's enough to keep the machine going, Fate. So it is going to be a Fate Craven Fate Friday.
Craving some fate.
Yeah, man. So what's up, man? First of all, hello to everyone in the chat.
Absolutely.
Welcome. Glad you guys are all here. Thanks for coming back here to end your week with us. And I see all your beautiful faces here, well, at least your names anyway. And we appreciate you all. So just a real blanket hello. And I see you as we're scrolling through the chat. And speaking of chat, Fate, before we dig in here, of course, we'll get to as many of you guys as possible. But remember, if you want to make sure and get your question or comment addressed by Fate and myself tonight, you can do that. There you have a fast track and send it in through a super chat. Go to the front of the line and we'll get you addressed on screen. And Fate and I will do our very best to answer your questions. So that is your one avenue, Fate, the express lane.
That is how you can have your fate decided.
That's right. So what's up, man? How's your week been? Any new movie news on your either at your house or in the cinemas or anything else?
Nothing like groundbreaking, same old stuff. We're getting through the motions. Yeah, inching closer every day to the upcoming Scream. Cannot wait.
Yeah, man.
We got the trailers, so now we got all like the rabbit hole theories and ideas and just pumping out content and trying to, hopefully get some things right. Probably get most of it wrong, and or at least I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. I hope so.
And then just enjoy the ride leading into it until we get Scream 7, and then there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And basically, that's it, man. That's the plan. And speaking of the plan, Carrie coming in right off the top with a $2 super chat.
Love it.
Thank you. Kiss. Craven, you sound much better today. So glad. Well, thank you, Carrie. I have been resting my voice today, and I've got a video that I want to get made today. I've tried a couple of times already and stopped and said, nope, not ready yet. So it may be tomorrow, but I literally am ready to record. I've got it ready to go. But anyway, thank you, Carrie, for that. Thank you. I appreciate it. And it's a little better. I finally broke down, called the doctor yesterday. And so she gave me that Z-Pack, antibiotics, all that good stuff. So hopefully, next couple of days, it's going to be a lot better. But thank you so much for that, Carrie. We appreciate your generous support as always. And speaking of which, Carrie Crave Cinema with another super chat with the $5. Hey, thank you. I watched Megan, by the way. I was not impressed. Oh, really? Oh, that's too bad. Not enough
Chucky in a
Megan.
Lifetime movie.
Horror movie. Oh my gosh.
I still haven't seen it, so I don't know. Like
I really liked it.
the consensus seems to be that it was a good movie. I don't know. I just like. I mean, I'll see it eventually. I'm just not really in a rush to watch it, just because I don't know. Like I saw it, like it didn't really do anything for me. I was like, this reminds me of what was it, 2019 or 2017 Chucky. Like I was like, whatever year that came out,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I was like, this looks like a carbon copy of that. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, speaking of movies that I have seen recently, have you seen House on the Bayou?
No.
I actually really enjoyed that movie. Like it's on Amazon Prime right now, and you can watch it.
Okay.
It was like a theatrical release, came out in 2021, so it's like a
Okay.
relatively newer movie. I believe it was a theatrical release, but
Something
yeah,
about
like I just like randomly like had it on as like it was supposed to be background noise. Like I just threw it on as background noise, and I got all into the movie. It was like I thought it did a really good job of like pacing wise and like keeping you guessing like what goes on, and like you think it's one thing. Like it was just really good. It was a really solid movie. Yeah, Carrie, House on the Bayou.
House
Like
on
it
the
was just
Bayou. I've never heard of it, but I love because there's so many movies, and I love getting tips like this. About movies I never heard of.
no, yeah. I definitely think you should check it out. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like it kept me like in it. Like I said, it was one of those movies where like, like I wasn't planning on like sitting and watch it, and like 10 minutes into it, I was just like, okay, like it did a good job. It's not like some like crazy. It's probably closer to like a psychological thriller,
Right.
than it is like a traditional horror movie.
I love that though.
Yeah.
That's like my second favorite thing.
Yeah, it was really good. You're sitting there, you're watching it, and you're like trying to figure out like what's going on. You're like, wait, like what is this? And then you think it's one thing, and then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then like later on, like, and it does a really good job of like just keeping you on your toes, which I like.
Man.
I like when movies keep having you
Heck
guessing.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I love it, and I love the way it sounds. I've got it saved here now, and I will watch it here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, definitely. Shoot me a text. Let me know if you like it or not.
I will. This is even more reasons to tune into the Lethal Collective because you're going to find out about hidden gems.
Get some gems.
Yeah.
Sprinkle a little, like Salt Bay, just sprinkling little movie gems. Giving it to you.
Heck yeah. Cole, yes, I did get your email. Thank you for resending it. I have not had a chance to sit down and read it yet, but it is in my inbox. So thank you for that. All right.
Nice.
Cool. Okay, man. So let's see, Faye, where would you like to begin for our journey tonight? Do you want to?
Well, we can dive right into like some Scream conversations.
Yeah.
Well, for starters, what do we think, or what do you think the like museum or shrine, as Gale put it, is like who do you think owns it? Like what do you think that's gonna, because it looks like it's going to be like the end scene. Like I think that's gonna play a role several times, and then it looks like we're getting that towards the end of the movie for the third act. So I made a video the other day talking about how like what if Gale owns it? Like it would make sense. Or even if she doesn't own it, like maybe she knows of it and is a part of it. To like like somebody mentioned in the comments, which I thought was a good addition, was like what if she's like the curator, and like she knows about it, because like when you watch the trailer, she knew exactly what it was. Yeah. Everyone else, like even the images, everyone else is like looking around in amazement, and Gale's like flipping on the lights and like pulling and pressing the button to have all the stuff come up, and like she looked like she knew what everything was. Now that also could just be that that maybe she was there earlier before everyone and stumbled across it and found everything, but she has the key card. Right, like we see her with the image. She has the key card to get in, and she's there with Kirby. Like, and so and like I had people that were like, "Oh, like, but she had to use a flashlight to get in." Like, it doesn't look like it's like a museum. It looks like it's more like in like almost like an underground place or something like that. So once you get in, that could be world light. You might need a flashlight to get through. Like lots of people have like secret bunkers and all kinds of stuff where you got to use flash. I don't think a flashlight is like, oh, because she had to use a flashlight to use the key card. To me, that doesn't mean like, oh, she doesn't own it. And I'm not saying she does own it, but she seemed very comfortable in that place and seemed like she really knew what like where everything was. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that that's a possibility? And one last point of note is if anyone could get their hands on all that stuff, it would be Gale. I mean, she wrote the book on it all. She had Dewey, you know, so maybe her and Dewey were working on that before Dewey went back to Woodsboro, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, she like all the stab movies are based on all her books and all her writings and stuff. So like, you know, like, but anyway, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's not a bad idea, honestly, man. The Gale angle, it's interesting. I haven't had a chance to see that video, so that's an interesting idea. My current theory is a little different. Is that I believe that the Dr. Stephen Stone is, or is it Stephen Stone? Hold on a second, I got it right here. I told you guys I was working on a video today, and it's the therapist. That's what. So bottom line is, Dr. Stone, who I do believe is Sam's therapist, is Henry Czerny, and I called it back when they announced the hiring of the three. It was Josh. I mean, no, it was Dermot, Josh, and Henry, all pretty close together.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was like, "Oh, guys, we're gonna get our Debbie Salt." One of them is a Debbie Salt type character, and what I think is gonna happen, Fate, I think that he is in control of the shrine. He's the one bankrolling it, whether it's stab movie props, which I still believe most of those items aren't real. I think they're stab props and replicas.
Those are just some stuff that like is like there's no way that they'd have that. You know,
Right.
like the fax machine. Like, there's no way you have that
No.
fax machine.
No
Like,
way.
you know, like the TV. Like, how would you get that TV would be destroyed by now? They're not gonna they're not gonna keep that TV for evidence. Like, you have Stu's TV, but yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah. So absolutely, you're right. I feel the same way. So that's why I think that these are stage. Film props. But I think he's in control. I don't think he ever dons a costume, but he's the bankroller. He's the mastermind, and I believe that these 2 or 3, please knock on wood, 3, and I do think it's 3 this time. These 3 Ghostface killers are donning the costumes and doing his bidding, if you will. And it can be for several reasons. If he is a psychiatrist, sounds like he is, he's a doctor, so he could be manipulating officers of the law, people that are seeing him in his practice that are military trained. And so we've all talked about how this new Ghostface seems to be more tactical. He doesn't look like that typical 17-year-old type of look.
Yes.
You know, a little clumsy and all that. Which, again, I have no problem with that. But this one looks different. And so Fate, my thinking is he could be seeing these people, and he has those cult-like leader qualities. Manipulative. He understands psychology. He knows how to get into your psyche. And if he finds people that are vulnerable and are easily manipulatable, well, that's a big word. I could see him having the people do his bidding. And I do believe, though, because it comes back to motive, right? Why him?
Yeah.
My thoughts are twofold, Fate. Number one, either he sees himself as a good guy, and he wants the Ghostface killings to end, so he wants to kill all the survivors. And everyone in this movie that's targeted is a previous survivor. Someone messaged me and said, "Hey, how can that be the case then? Because what about the new people?" And I said, "That's easy. They're collateral damage.
Yeah,
They're in the way.
They're there to be there.
Yeah, they're not the target. The target is the core 4, Kirby and Gale. That's all." And so I know I'm going a bit long, almost done.
No, you're good.
And so I think
It's just us.
it's just us. That's true. You're right. We could slow down.
Yeah.
I think that one motive could be, I want to kill everyone who survived. And obviously Sydney's not there, that gives us our 7 cliffhanger later. But anyway, that's one motive. And the other motive is literally fate, what I said earlier. It's the Debbie Salt 2.0. This is a parent of a previous killer. We don't know what Stu's parents look like. We don't know who Roman's dad is. We don't know, heck, man, any of just name these people out. Mickey, any of these people. This could easily be a parent. I know this is not the way Jake would want this to go, because this is really mirroring Scream 2. But he's a parent, and he's doing revenge. So I see those two motives. Unless I see some dramatic things, and it could change in the next month. Otherwise, that's kind of where I'm at, buddy. I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, what about, like, couldn't a third alternative just be that it's somebody that's what's going on? It's somebody that's just obsessed. You know, like he's a therapist, right? Like,
Right.
like it would make sense to have him be obsessed and fascinated with the idea of Ghostface serial killers. You know, and Sam, not only is she a survivor of a Ghostface attack, but she's also the daughter to Billy Loomis, and having hallucinations and you know, like she says, I have this darkness in me. Like, if you were somebody that was obsessed with serial killers and, you know, specifically the Ghostface attacks and stuff like that, like, who better than, you know, Sam Carpenter? Like, seriously, like who would be better than that? Because one, like, you know, she's the daughter of the original. She has the bloodline. Maybe, you know, maybe they're doing or the killer's doing a study, like, you know, and the psychology of turning them into serial killers. Maybe the whole motive is to get her to break.
Could be.
You know, like, that could be something too, where, like, you know, the killer is taking out, you know, trying to take out Gale and Tara and everyone to just leave Sam alone, to where, like, she just eventually snaps and comes after me. You know, like, you could even have, like, a psychotic, like, resolution, like Mickey, where Mickey was like, no, I'm a crazy fuck that wants to get caught. You know, like, like, you could have somebody like that. Maybe he wants to die at the hands of Sam. You know, where he's, you know, like, his whole point is to break her to the point where Sam snaps and kills her, and now she has a real body count. So yeah, I don't know. It's just to add to what.
Yeah.
I briefly touched on that. I did a video about, like, about the therapist, and I briefly kind of touched on that. So it's something I want to elaborate more on. Thoughts on the noggin.
Yeah.
I got my list of videos that I'm working my way through. So
I'm trying to. I've had to stop making videos because of my voice.
yeah,
It's frustrating because, I mean, I literally tried, like I said earlier, 2 times. I've mic'd up and let's go, and pretty soon it starts getting this. You're starting it now already. That raspy hits, and it's like for a few minutes it's perfect. But anyway, it'll get better. But yeah, man, there's so much to talk about. There's so many theory videos that
and
angles, probably have possibilities, and it's exciting stuff. So I always say it, man. It's my favorite time is now before a Scream film drops. It's when the trailer drops to opening day is my most favorite time, because we get to do theories on everything, and everything's possible right now, pretty much. You know, you can make an argument that it could be multiple things right now.
Peyton and I had the same idea about Gale's opening scene. Yeah, well, first off, Carrie, thank you very much.
Thanks, Carrie.
As always. But I mean, it makes sense. Like, one of the things that I touched on in the video where I talked about Gale's the opening scene, like, if you compare this trailer to Scream 5's trailer, like, a majority of the trailer was the opening scene. Well, in this trailer, like, a majority of this trailer is Gale's attack and opening scene. Obviously, we know she survives because, you know, we know that she's in it later in the movie. So you could, and I really think if this movie really is, like, majority, or at least a good chunk, all the same night, then think it makes sense that like we won't have a like definitive like opening scene. Like I don't think it'll be cut like boom, here's the opening scene, and then it just cuts, and then you get the title card, and then it's like, you know, Sydney at the computer typing away. Like I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, you know, you have this sequence, it leads to the title card, and then it just continues that like where it jumped off, you know. Because I think that they're going to go bam, 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 which they almost have to with as many characters as they have, right? And
Yeah.
so I just think it makes sense. Maybe I posted a video earlier today, kind of elaborating a little more about like maybe because again, Gale's got to survive that attack, right? So if Gale survives
Yeah.
that attack, then you imagine that it's got like something happens because Ghostface has her dead on sight. Like I mean, he's, you know, he blocks the gun
Yep.
and he's lunging for. So something happens in order for her to get away and survive. So I was thinking, like, what if like that leads into a Gale? Like, what if the opening scene is like that Gale sequence and then a chase scene, and Gale gets away and then somebody dies, and that's why we have the Ghostface standing there in the alleyway, right? You kill the assistant, because that image is from the opening scene. So you kill the assistant, you attack Gale. Gale escapes. Ghostface comes down. Maybe Ghostface even takes out like some, you know, bypasser or something that's like one of like the characters, or maybe it's like Samara Weaving or something, you know, like as like a little cameo. Boom,
Mhm.
you get a couple people that die, and then you know continue on into the film. I think it's just something that could happen. But anyway, just thoughts.
Yeah.
Because that image there,
That's
right?
the same alley that's supposed to be the opening kill alley.
Exactly. So either now this could just be later on, you know, in a different scene later on, but this really could be part of the opening scene. You got Samara
Yeah.
Weaving, and she's, you know, at this, you know, in this alleyway talking on the phone with the killer or something. Ghostface comes in, and we see the killer. We see Ghostface taking somebody out in the alley in the street.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right.
but yeah,
Yeah. Someone is not surviving that
that sequence.
that sequence for sure. And I honestly think it is Samara that's gonna take it, because there's the alley mask in the middle. That's where Samara is standing, right there.
Yeah.
So I do believe she's the opening kill. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Or like I said, it's Ghostface just standing there, because the way Ghostface is standing there, maybe he's watching somebody run away.
Yeah.
You know, like that could be just the way Ghostface is standing. Like, and that's why I think it can make sense with Gale. Like maybe Ghostface is watching Gale run away and is just like, "Don't worry, I'm getting her." That or Gale, Ghostface keeps Gale alive for a purpose, which could always be a possibility. You know, like maybe an actual like Ghostface has her, could take her out. Maybe he like cuts her up a little bit just to kind of like, hey, like I got you, but
man,
I need you to do something. Maybe that's how she gets the key card. Maybe that's how she finds the thing. Like you could go down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. You go, yeah, you gotta get this for me or something.
Yeah, I need you to do this or you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, and Gale, of course, like, wait, there's this museum. Like, of course, like she would do it on her own without being, you know, harassed by Ghostface. And yeah, and maybe you have like this convincing moment or whatever. But anyway.
Well, I'll tell you something, Fate, that is a very convincing moment and humbling, is when we see Colby bringing in a $50 super chat.
Thank you so much.
Colby, that's so kind. You want to read this one for me, Fate?
Yeah. Now, what's up, guys? Glad to be here listening. Well, thank you. We're glad to have you here. And again, thank you so much. Seriously. That's very, very kind of you. I was wondering if you think possibly, this is a question for you, possibly that Stu had a son who could be involved. I mean, if Billy and Sam, who's to say Stu couldn't have had a kid either. Hopefully it's Stu, though. Come on, Fate, get on board, buddy. Well, first off, I really appreciate you for the super chat. Yeah. Very kind of you. Secondly, I will never join your cult. You guys make me sick. But
The cult of Stu, baby, it's strong.
Never happening. You guys can drink the Kool-Aid together, but no, but like I've said, like if they can make it work, fine, make it work. I'm not so blind to think like fan service isn't a thing. Personally, I don't really like the idea of Stu coming back, and this is just my honest opinion. I would hate the idea of Stu having a kid, and it's not because it's unbelievable or anything like that. It very well could be. We know Stu was a womanizer, right? I mean, that was she was dating Casey, she did, Tatum. There's he was clearly a womanizer. The reason I would hate it if they did like a Stu kid thing is because you already did that with Sam and Bill. It's like, so I understand the shit, but it's like how many of the same storylines and how many like bloodline legacy characters are you going to have? At some point, it just, to me, I just am like, go a different direction. We don't need a Stu 2.0 or Stu 0.0, I should say. Yeah, we don't need a, Billy 2.0. We don't need a, Randy 2.0. Like, let's create new established characters, in my opinion. I'd rather them go that route than like just having a bunch of like these bloodline characters and like it's like, oh, Stu's daughter, Stu's this. Like we already have Billy's daughter, right? Like we're gonna have this big showdown of like, I guess the new Billy and Stu. Like, sure, I'm sure that there's people that would like that, but to me, that's just kind of corny. Like to me, it's kind of silly. Like why? Like at that point, like I would rather have Stu back than them have like a daughter or a son,
right?
Because it's just like how many times are you gonna do that? But anyway,
yeah. Well, my thoughts. Colby, I'm gonna put it to you this way, man. It's in 3 words. Get it. No, it's not. Get it up, baby. Let's go.
Yeah! I'm ready, baby!
You're getting Stu Macher.
Get up!
There we go.
Get up!
Yeah.
Get up! Get up! It was fun.
It was
Heck
fun.
Yeah.
That's why he's dead. It's great.
All aboard! That's Stu Train, baby. So, Colby, I think that, I think that it would be great. I'm with Fate on this, though. I don't really want to go the child route. If Sam had not been Billy's kid and it was not been done in the last movie, I would be like, maybe could be interesting, but they've already done it. And I'm afraid if they were to do it with Stu, it would just be like a little bit too much of repeating things. So I would rather, if they are gonna bring Stu back in some form or fashion in this trilogy, as I certainly hope they do, then I wouldn't just see Stu. Yeah, let's just bring him back. Let's don't do the kid. Let's just say here he is, and I don't expect to see him in 6. I've said that for quite a long time now. I really hope, and really, really hope it's 7. That's what I'm looking for Stu Macher. If they're going to do it, and if they don't do it, then they don't do it. Then hopefully we'll see what the next trilogy, the next directors and writers do. But for this current universe of writing with James and Guy and Radio Silence directing, I really hope they do it in 7 and give us that one more time with Stu, one last time. But we'll see. There's no guarantees, as we know.
Only time will tell.
Time will tell.
I just don't want them to go backwards. Like that's my biggest gripe. Like I don't even really like that they handcuffed themselves to the past with Sam and everything like that. Like why couldn't you have just had a new set of characters that tied in to the core character or the original OG characters? You're in Woodsboro. It's not like it would have been hard. Like you didn't have to make Sam Billy's daughter. You could have had some reason. You could have had the mother maybe have a connection and tie in outside of Billy's daughter. Or maybe the mom went to school with Sydney and there was some secret or something. Like you could have done so many other things. I just don't want to see them keep repeating the past. Like just let Wes Craven's work speak for itself and leave it alone. and create your own thing. You're never gonna like be able to replicate that. I don't want to see them keep like, oh well, let's bring Kirby back, let's bring Stu back, let's bring, let's have
Well-
Stu's sister's cousin's brother come back. Let's do, it's like at what point do you just go, okay, like it's time to just move forward, tell your own story, be original, be creative. Like, if I want to watch Scream 1 through 3, I'll just go watch Scream 1 through 3. I don't need to see that 2.0.
Right.
Like, I don't need to see Scream 4 2.0. Like, make your own movies. That's my only thing. That's why I'm not like very big on just the Stu thing and just like Jill and all the other theories that everyone has where they want to come back. Like, let's just start fresh. Like, let's just tell a new story. They could do that in Scream 6, even though they tied Sam to the past. You could still start fresh. You got no Sydney. You got no nothing. Like, let's see what you could do. Let's see how it could go. But
and the fact that the points you're making are, the very points you're making, like they have brought Kirby back now. They have Sam as Billy. The fact that they're actually doing those things, I think, speaks more to the possibility that it could happen, because we are seeing them do those very things you're talking about. It's like here now the Kirby's
it's just lazy to me is the problem. It's just lazy. Like, to me, it's just like you couldn't have thought of a better idea than just like, let's bring back all these characters. Like, let's do all that stuff. Like, I love Stu as like, people think because I don't want Stu back that I hate Stu Macher. Stu Macher is one of my favorite characters in the franchise.
Oh yeah,
he is who he was.
Yeah,
like I don't want like I enjoy for what he was. It's like it's like like you have the like when you go see a show, it's never the same the second time around. Like when you go see something, like you see, you go watch like a play or something like that. Like, it's great. You love it. You're like, man, it could be your favorite play ever. But the second time you watch it, you don't like it as much as the next time. And it's like, that's my problem. Sometimes you start noticing the things that you maybe didn't notice before that make you not like it. So it's just, I'd like them to just fresh cut the cord, move on, quit being lazy, tell a good story.
Well, it seems to me like if they keep radio silence and this writing team beyond 7, that would be a stark change for them, because they're starting off very much rooted in the history.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that carries out in 6 and 7, of course. But we'll see. Something else we're going to see here is a $5 super chat.
Thank you, Radioactive.
Radioactive, what's going on?
How much screen time of Ghostfaces are you guys expecting in Scream 6? I want 6 to be the most we've seen killers out of the series. So, personally, I think they go one of two ways. I think it's either going to be somebody that's super prominent and super focused in the film, like Segura or whatever. Like, he looks like he's going to have a big role in this movie.
Yeah.
So I could see that, and then they go that. Or I think they're going to do what they did in Scream 2, where you're going to get like small dose of like 2 or 3 characters. You're going to see them, maybe even one of them you think died or something like that, just for audience, interpretation. And then you're not going to see these like couple characters for the rest of the film until the very end, and then they're going to be revealed, like the therapist, right? Like, I could see you get maybe 2 scenes with the therapist, just so you know who it is, just so you when you see them later, you recognize them, and then you're not going to see them for the rest of the movie, and then they're going to show up, and boom, here's your mastermind. Here are the 2 killers, and you're like, oh, like, because they also, you got to keep in mind too, is that like, even though Scream is based in realism and does a good job with that, you still have to deceive the audience, right? So you still have to make scenes. You still have to have scenes and films and moments to where you're trying to trick the audience. Like, it might not make sense, as far as like realism wise, but it's still a movie. There still has to be some movie logic. So I see them. I really think that that's what's going to happen. I don't know that for certain, but I really do, because we have so many characters in this film. I don't know how you're going to be able to develop all of them. So I think the way you do that is you make the core 4 more focused. You have 1 or 2 people that are more focused, so everyone thinks that those guys have to be the killers. You have Gale, boom, Kirby, boom. So you got like 6 or 7 characters that are really kind of front and center. you think those characters are gonna like it has to be some of these characters. You got a couple red herrings, blah 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 blah, and then in the end, it's gonna be like these two characters that you saw in the first act and you haven't seen again. Basically, Mickey and Mrs. Loomis were basically that. You know, you got Mickey, small dose here and there, and then you didn't see him till the end scene. You know, Mrs. Loomis, you got like 3 or 4 scenes, like quick, like not scenes, like almost moments. You got like, you know, just sprinkled moments throughout, and then you got the big bulk of her screen time at the end. That's what I think will happen, or at least that's my guess. But what about you, Craven? What do you think?
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, I think we're gonna get comparable screen time, but I will say this: I do want. We didn't see a lot of Ghostface in 5 to me. There were times the hospital scene. Obviously, we did with the wheelchair. You know, that's probably the longest sequence that I can think of with Ghostface in costume. But I would like to see some more longer, drawn out scenes like the Casey Becker opening, you know, and other moments like in Milton's Mansion, where there was all the chasing and running around. So, and if we do really have 3 Ghost Faces, which Fate, they got to do it at least once. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, they got to give us 3, break the mold. And I think there's a good chance we will see, especially with those, you know, I showed the picture a second ago and I made this graph. I'll pull it up again. These are 3 different masks, guys. Those are all different masks, and they've all been shown. We have the Asian mask, which we see everywhere, the alley mask from the opening, and the subway white matte finish. And those are different. And Ghostface is wearing all 3. Now, it doesn't mean there's 3 people. I get it. But it could mean that there are 3 people, too. We can't say for certain yet. But the fact that if we have 3 different masks we've identified for sure, that's promising to me. And we have that one shot, which I've not done a video yet. It's on my list, where you've got Sam, and I know you know it, Fate. Sam and Tara are back to back. Remember that in the trailer, and Sam's got her arm extended outward. You see her from the back, and it's like there's going to be one over here, one in front, and maybe one behind. So anyway, I'll get a video done eventually when my voice will let me on that one. So I guess Radioactive for me, I'll sum it up and say that I think there's a good chance we will see more of Ghostface than we ever have, because I believe there's 3. And they're going to want us to see those 3. So
they got it. They got it. I mean, you're right. I mean, at some point you got to break the mold, right? Like,
yeah.
We always. I mean, obviously, Scream 3 was just Roman, although we kind of disagree with that, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was just Roman. That's right.
I don't think it was either, because it just doesn't make sense. But
No.
you know, even if it was, like, let's say it was just Roman, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It was just Roman. So now you have a Scream movie with 1 killer, and then you have all the others with 2. Like, at what point, like, you got to change it up at some point, right? So I think 3 is great. And you could just do so much more with 3. You could have a killer. You could have 2 killers at the same time, so everyone thinks it's 2 killers. Because you got to remember, like, us as and this is something that I try to get across on my personal channel, is that, like, you know, you got to keep in mind, like, we're a small minority to the amount of people that are going to see this.
Yes.
Like us diehard fans, like all the people that are always watching mine and Craven's videos and are, you know, in our live streams or on the Lethal Collective stuff. Like, yes, to us it seems a plenty, because you're like, man, I have like, you know, 200 people. You know, like, you know, I post a video, I'll get like 3,000 or 4,000 views. You see those videos, you're like, man, there's 3,000 or 4,000 people that think just like I do and are looking into this and stuff. There's going to be millions of people that watch this movie. So it's a tiny little sliver. So you got to think, like, the trailer, like a lot of parts and scenes in the movie, a lot of things that we think is spoilerish or predictable isn't to the majority. Like even Scream 5.
Yeah.
Scream 5 spoiled like 90% of that movie. But the
Yes, it
problem
did.
is that to most people, it didn't. To most people, it was still a surprise. It was still shocking. It's just to us who overanalyze everything and look into everything or
I
come
know.
up with our own theories. And to be fair, it's our own fault. it's to our own detriment. But
Yeah, it is. But they also, I say it's two ways. I always say this: own your eyeballs. You take responsibility for what you choose to watch, and I do that as well. But I also have to say that also doesn't mean the studio should be lazy, because you mentioned that word earlier, and just throwing in careless images of Richie being stabbed by Sam in the trailer, Amber on fire. It's not even a question of who. You and I identified Amber in the first 10 minutes or less, because all we had to do was we sized up the pictures.
yeah.
And then there's the jewelry, same rings. It was like obvious. That's, to me, they do own that part of it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though, right? Like you and me looked into that and overanalyzed it. So did most people. The average person is watching that trailer one time going, oh wow,
Yeah.
Ghostface lit that person on fire. That's crazy. Oh,
Right.
Sam is stabbing some guy, right? Not
True.
knowing, like to us, we're I guess seasoned veterans, so to put it. So to us,
Yep.
it's like they shouldn't have showed Richie's head. But to most people, the average person that just watched that with no real context just saw a guy's head. They didn't
It's
know
a
that
flash.
that was Richie. Yeah, it's just a quick flash. Amber lit on fire. They cut it to where it's go. To us, we're like, oh, that's two separate scenes. Clearly, the backgrounds aren't the same. This isn't
Yeah.
the same. That's different. This is different. But to the average person that's just at home, watches it one time and goes, oh wow, that's cool.
Right.
They're not going, oh, like, wait, that background's different. Wait, that they're not wearing the same thing as they are here. Like, so that's what I mean by like, it's our own detriment.
Yeah, it is.
Because we're not watching it and just passing, right? Like
Right.
most people are. We're watching it to overanalyze it, to
Yep.
break it down, because we're selfish content creators that want all the content. Right, we want to be able to pump out 30 videos off of like a 2-second clip. Like that's the goal, right? Because we need to provide content. So
And it's so fun,
it is. It's
talking
great.
theories is
I love
so
it.
much
Like,
fun.
and it's great to like look back. Like one of my favorite things after I was done with Scream 5 was to like look back and just think of like, man, I got a lot of this shit wrong. And then it was like, but I did get a lot of it right. Like, and it was just kind of cool to go through like, oh man, I got that right. Like even watching it, like I didn't really do that the first time, but the second time when I sat back and watched it, being like, oh, I got that right. Like that was cool. Oh, I got that right. Oh, I was way wrong here. Like it was cool to like, kind of go through that process. But
Oh yeah. Well, and you know what else is really cool as well, man, is Lisa coming in with a $5 super chat on this Friday. Thank you, Lisa. Go ahead, Faye, if you don't mind, please.
What if there are a lot of killers and all the attacks are happening at the same time? Samara, Gale, Subway, etc. All attacks at roughly the same time. That actually wouldn't surprise me at all, especially if we have multiple killers. I wouldn't be shocked if we got like multiple kills at the same time. Maybe they seem like they're separate scenes and separate moments, but through like the police or whatever, through like quick dialogue, you understand like, oh no, oh so whatever. Samara's death and Gale's attack happened at the exact same time, right? Like that's something they could do. I really want, and we mentioned this a long time ago. I would love to get a split screen kill. Like if we have multiple killers, like how cool would it be if we saw, like say, Tony Ravioli and Samara Weaving. Like let's say I never know how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
But like what if we
Revelori, I
had,
think it is.
yeah, something like that. What if we had like that split screen to where you get to see two killers taking out both of them at the same time? Like that would be so cool. Like that'd be such a great shot.
Cool.
And so like I definitely could see that happening. Will they? Probably not. But I it's a cool idea. I definitely could see that happen. Or at least I hope that they would do something like that. But thank you.
Dude, think about this, man. If it is indeed 3 killers, like I showed the image just a second ago, and could you imagine if we are watching this movie, it's getting started, and literally what Fate said, we are seeing all three of them attack at different places. And we're seeing, and the people who are being attacked obviously think they're the only ones. You wouldn't think it's anyone else. So while there's, they're fighting off the bodega, that's, where Sam and Tara are. Meanwhile, over in the alley, you've got the other one killing Samara Weaving and whoever she's with. And, round down the line, you could have a third one. And we as the audience see it all happening. And we're just like, what is going on right now? That would be so amazing. I would love it, dude. And it would be fresh and new.
Yeah. Maybe it'd give you something like different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I love it, Lisa. And thank you so much for your generosity tonight. We really appreciate it. And speaking of generosity, Colby coming in with a $10 super chat tonight. All right.
Thank you, Colby. Appreciate that.
Colby.
Awesome. One thing I'd love to have is the Ghostface or Ghostfaces be more intimidating and have at least one get away with it. We don't know their identity until the end of 7. Couple things. One, I really hope, and based on everything that Radio Silence has said, that should be the case, that we get a more intimidating, more brutal, more vicious. Like we've talked about, like this Ghostface looks more militant almost. Like, he seems very like efficient. Like he's, a lot of people were talking about like, oh, Ghostface. Like I saw a lot of like comments that like, oh, Ghostface can dodge bullets. Like, no, you can hear the click of the gun. So like if somebody's behind you and you hear click, like you're not gonna wait to turn around and just like, no, Ghostface.
Heck no.
Heard the click, boom, looked and then just ducked out of the way, like stuff like that. But it seems like Ghostface is a lot more like tactical, right? So like I do think with that, you get a more intimidating, more darker, more brutal. And I mean, Scream 5 did a good job with that. Like I thought Ghostface like was very menacing. Like it was, there was no games, right? Like all the other movies, Ghostface really played a lot of games.
A lot
like
of cat and mouse.
Yeah, like even Scream 4, right? Like you had like Olivia's death was like a pretty brutal death. But like Ghostface took a while to get there. I'm
That's right.
answer the questions. I'm in the closet. Like they open the closet, like, building that up. This Ghostface was just no nonsense. You had like as the Judy and West death was like in like a 1 3-minute scene.
Yeah.
Like, Ghostface comes, it was all ambushes. Like Vince's death, like all the deaths weren't games outside of like a couple, like Tara, but Ghostface kept her alive, right?
Right.
Almost all of the deaths were, quick. Like Vince is standing there, boom, gets stabbed in the neck, dead, right? Like you have, this one, boom, dead. Next one, boom, dead. Like, and I like that. So I do imagine that they're going to continue to do that going forward. But or at least I hope so. And then as far as like a Ghostface getting away, I really hope so too. Like especially if we get 3 killers. Like I'd love to have like you have the traditional, mask off reveal, no big deal. Cool. There you go. And then but then you have that one that carries over. Plus just imagine how cool it would be. Like you could pick up Scream 7 exactly, like especially the decayed Ghostface mask or whatever you want to call it, the aged one, whatever. Like especially if that one survived, like to know like that killer's still out there. That killer is like you can't go take a piss because like what if Ghostface is in one of the stalls, right? Like you go in, you come home and it's like like how do I know? Like I could turn that corner going into my kitchen and I'm dead. Like like that would just add so much tension, so much anxiety, so much buildup. Like there's just a lot you could do with that. But yeah, hopefully they go that route for sure. I would love that.
Yeah, man, totally, absolutely. I think that the idea of one getting away is great, and I know there are some in the fandom that don't like the cliffhanger idea, and I do understand some of that, but I'm all for it, man. If they know they're getting us locked in with the 7, I think they do. Then I say go for it. This is the time because you're going to resolve it in your next movie. You don't have to worry about are we going to get approval?
I really think this is going to be, to some degree, maybe not full fledged, but to some degree, a part 1 and part 2. I really think this is going to be like, like the setup film for a bigger payoff.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Carrie's not messing around. She just popped some popcorn, gave us a super sticker.
Thank you, Carrie.
And I see that glorious popcorn on the screen there. Thank you, Carrie. It's awesome.
Popping the popcorn.
She said it's a sticker of popcorn. Cause let's get ready for Scream 6, baby.
It's gonna be a scream.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, guys. You guys are all being so generous tonight. As my voice is getting rougher and rougher, which tends to happen because it's getting close to an hour, and I can already tell my voice is not going to be able to last much longer, my friends. But
well, let's pop through a couple more questions, and we can stay
more.
Yeah, do a couple more and get on out of here. That way you can rest your voice and all these wonderful people.
Definitely. Let's take a look here. Yes, hydrate. Yes, Carrie, I promise you I will continue drinking my water. Hydrating. Okay, we got one question here. Just came in from Greg. Go ahead, Fate, please.
Who do you think is the secret cameo? Maybe Joel as the twins' father, very out there. Maybe Rebecca Gayheart, back now from the sorority den mother. I mean, you could go a million ways with that. Like, I know a lot of people think it's going to be somebody from the past. I mean, it very well might not. I mean, because the problem is if it is somebody from the past, that pool is very limited, right? Like you have like Hank, you have Joel, like you said, you have like
Josh
you can
Jackson.
do like you got Josh Jackson, like people like that. But the problem with like Rebecca Gayheart, Josh Jackson, like guys like that, like or characters like that, is like they were just so in passing that like most people wouldn't even know the cameo, right? Like if they're gonna have a cameo, it's gonna be either a major Scream cameo or it's gonna be somebody that is generally recognized. So because I don't think it's gonna I don't even think it would be Joel Jones because I don't think people would notice or care. Like us Scream fans are good, but again, you got to remember we're a small pool.
Right.
We're a small pool, like right, like same thing with like Hank Loomis, right? Like we as Scream fans would know Hank Loomis. Like I don't think that's like could they have those characters as cameos? Sure. But like if that's I don't see them being the big cameo that everyone's talking about. Like everyone's talking about like this big cameo. Who's that going to be? I don't see that being just some random like, character from the past. It's got to be somebody significant. My guess could be completely wrong, but based on like certain set photos and information that we've gotten, I think that there's like a flashback scene of like maybe Jill, which means like, so maybe you could get that. Not that she's in the movie, but you have like a sequence to where it's, they actually shot a scene with Emma Roberts or something like that. I could see it being something like that to where she's an iconic Scream character, but she's also a very recognizable character in general, right?
Yeah.
So that would be my guess. And I'm not saying it's her. I think that makes the most sense. I don't think we're gonna get a cameo, at least a major cameo, of just like Dwayne Martin, right? Like Dwayne Martin's cool, he's great, like we love him as a character, but like 90% of the people that watch this movie would go, "Who's that?" I don't know who that is, right? Like, so it's got to be somebody impactful and someone memorable. So I really think that it could be very likely like a flashback scene, which they would have to film in real time, which means they would get the credit. They would get the, it's not like old footage. I think it'll be like an actual scene. And Emma Roberts still looks young enough to where you could do something that, like, I don't think you could do a flashback scene with Stu. Because Matthew Lillard. I mean, you could do the de-aging thing, but like that's you're better off going like that route. And it makes sense with Kirby.
Yeah.
Right, you got Kirby from Scream 4, all that
True.
stuff. Like that would be my guess, is that it's something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there is also a possibility though that Radio Silence may say, you know what, we want to hit our diehard fans in the feels, and so we're gonna, it may not be, as Fate said, it may not be a really big, recognizable like the original cameos were with Drew Barrymore and Omar Epps and that kind of stuff, but who knows? Maybe they're like, we know, if we show one of these previous characters, all the diehards are going to be like, oh, that we're going to give them that one moment.
Yeah.
So I'm saying it's possible, but I do hear you also. Like, typically you think of the big, well done, big, well known, I should say. Okay. Stuff. But, well, guys, listen, and Tori, that is one that I was going to bring up. And after I did a video about her
that's another
3
good
months ago, Heather Langenkamp. That would be one I would be like, oh my gosh. All right, guys, listen, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. We basically went an hour tonight is our normal time. And my voice is just about shot, as you can tell. And so rather than making Fate and all of you continue to hear me saw gargles blades in my throat, I will call it a night. But I want to say thank you to all of you who generously donated tonight to the channel. It's very kind of you. We are at the coming up here at the end of the month, Fate. So our last broadcast for January is going to be Monday.
Yes.
So we really do appreciate you guys being so generous at the end of the month. On Monday, we'll be back for a what do we call it? Monday Q&A. Yeah. And 4:30 Central Monday afternoon. And Fate, I'll see you backstage.
Yeah.
For everyone else, we're going to call it a night. Have a wonderful weekend. And the collective has spoken. Good night.